It's time to step behind the scenes and take a closer look at the Owen Sound Attack. This is Bear Tracker Weekly. Here's your host, JC Coots.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 9 of season 2 of the Bear Tracker Weekly podcast. We are releasing this episode early this week. It's actually coming out on Friday, November 14th. The reason why is because, of course, the Owen Sound Attack are on the road this week. They will be in London tonight to face the Knights, and then tomorrow night in Flint to face the Firebirds. But with the Attack on the road, we still have managed to get ourselves a jam-packed episode. You might have heard there was a trade this week with the Peterborough Petes, the Owen Sound Attack acquiring Caden Taylor in exchange for a third rounder and in a conditional fifth rounder. Caden Taylor joins us this week on the podcast to talk about the move. Plus, we catch up with Max Delisle, who just returned on Sunday from Nova Scotia, winning a gold medal at the U17 World Hockey Challenge. We'll get Max's feelings on that big achievement. Dale DeGray, the Attack General Manager, will also be here to break down his most recent moves with the team. Of course, the other one being the acquisition of Wesley Royston. We have a little bit of a surprise for you this week. Former Attack captain Landen Hookey, who is now playing in the American Hockey League with the Belleville Senators. He is going to join us. We got to catch up with him this week and see how the transition from the OHL to professional hockey is going for Captain Hook. And we are once again joined by our bi-weekly guest, Adrien Mousseau, for another episode of Moose on the Loose. It is a full episode for a road week. Not too bad. Glad you're here for it. Strap in. Here we go. Episode 9 starts now. Well, Caden Taylor was sitting on the sidelines waiting for a trade to happen from the Peterborough Petes, and one finally did happen this week, and it's a team that could definitely use his offensive skill and his size as well. The Owen Sound Attack and Dale DeGray came calling. A deal was made, and that brought Caden to the Scenic City. I had a chance to catch up with Caden after practice at the Bayshore on Wednesday. Here's our conversation. First question everybody gets when they're brand new on the podcast. Where did you grow up, and what first made you fall in love with hockey?
I grew up in Shanty Bay, Ontario. It's a small town just outside of Barrie on the water there. What made me fall in love with hockey was probably watching my cousins play. I'm the youngest of 9 cousins, so I got to look up to them and I guess follow in their footsteps. And yeah, I guess just watching them play, it was pretty cool. And I think right away I fell in love with the game when I went on like shinny and free ice with them, and then I guess kind of took off from there.
You mentioned 9 cousins, so obviously a big external family. How about the internal family? How many brothers and sisters did you grow up with?
It's just me and my dog Winger, and that's it. No one else. Yeah, only child.
Well, you got to have all the attention, so that's perfect.
I love it. Way better. Way better.
Who were some of your favorite players when you were growing up? Did you have a favorite team and favorite guys you like to watch?
I've never really been a favorite team kind of guy, but I always liked, when I was growing up, I was always wearing number 88, just for Patrick Kane. I just love the way he I guess, was with the puck and the amount of patience and skill that guy has. And then I guess I didn't turn out to be 5'11". I was 6'3", so I kind of got to look at bigger guys now. So I like watching guys like Draisaitl, I guess not as tall, but Kucherov, guys like that, just take things from their game and kind of put it into my own. So yeah, those are the 3 main guys, I think.
You had a tremendous season with Mississauga your last year before you came into the OHL. I believe it was 121 points, 58 goals in 60 games. That must have been a heck of an experience for you to lead what's otherwise a pretty tough league in scoring.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a while ago, but yeah, that was obviously one of my favorite years of hockey. I think I was just, given that leeway and given that confidence to, I guess, play my game, and I think, it's something I haven't really experienced yet in the OHL, and I don't think that's a blow to anyone. I think it's just, the systems those teams were playing, and obviously the circumstances in Sudbury where I was a 16-year-old on a pretty nasty roster. So I think, hopefully I can do something similar here. Obviously not 121 points right now, but we'll see.
Obviously, you're here. I think some people around the OHL have heard that you were kind of sitting out a little bit with the Petes, and I mean, we don't need to know about any specifics, but I certainly understand it. I mean, there's always circumstances in life where, you know, maybe a new fit would be better, maybe the grass will be greener on the other side. What's your initial impressions here in Owen Sound? Obviously, we're talking on Wednesday, so you haven't suited up in a game yet, but you've got a couple of practices under your belt now. What are you thinking of the team here?
I think it's unbelievable. Honestly, when I heard about Owen Sound, I didn't know too much. I think it's, you know, a gem in the OHL, and I think it's something that goes unnoticed sometimes is how great they are here. I think, you know, the systems are really tainted and fit to me, and I think that's one of the main reasons I wanted to come here. And I think, you know, I'm really excited to see what I can do here.
Did you know any of the guys on the team before you came over? Any previous experience playing with any of them?
Yeah, funny enough, I actually grew up we were on the same novice team. Me, Crawford, and Royston were all together, and then I think before that I played against George growing up, and then I knew Pierce just because we kind of both are hanging out in Mississauga a lot. Roberts, there's a lot of connections, so same school as Roberts. God, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Played against Delisle, so many guys.
How would you describe yourself for fans of the Attack that because Peterborough is obviously in the East, we don't get to see you guys very often in a season, or at least the Petes in the season. How would you describe yourself for Attack fans that this is the first time they're going to get to see you play?
Yeah, I think I'm an exciting player. I think that's something I kind of pride myself on doing, making it a fun game to watch. And I think I like to play with skill, play fast, play with pace, and I'm a guy who can, I guess, create offense and, you know, put the puck in the net when I need to. And yeah, I think I'm rounding out my game and making myself a 200-foot player, and I think that's going to be a pretty exciting thing to watch. So, yeah, I'm pumped.
I'll ask you this just to get to know a few more things about you. Top 3 favorite movies in no particular order. Do you have 3?
I actually have this in my notes app. Number 1 is Interstellar. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. Sorry. Number 2 is Batman: Dark Knight, also a Christopher Nolan's movie. And then 3rd is Memento, which is also a Christopher Nolan movie. Pretty good.
Wow, you're a bit of a cinephile there. That's an impressive answer. Now I'm going to ask you about music. 3 favorite bands or artists that you really like?
Yeah, I would say my music taste is a little bit out there. I would say my number 1 guy would be Gunna. 2 would be probably OT7 Kwani. I don't know if many people know who that is. And then 3, wow, that's a good question. Grew up in Toronto, so Drake.
There you go. All right, good answers. Did you get a lot of time playing in the Bayshore? I mean, when you were a kid growing up just outside of Barrie, you might have played a hockey tournament here or two when you were in minor hockey.
My parents did tell me I did play here. I don't really remember. But yeah, I did play here twice, one in my first year, one in my second year. I enjoyed it, and obviously the boards were a little harder back then, and now they got the good glass here, so that's definitely a positive. But no, I haven't played here too much, and not in the when I was younger, I guess, either.
Have they had you kind of slotting in on a line in practice so far? Do you think you might know who you might be lining up with on Friday in London?
They haven't told us too many things, but I know today I was with Nancy and Nelly, and I think there's a good connection there. I think, you know, I grew up playing against Nance too, and I know he's a pretty skilled hockey player. So him and Nelly, I guess, would be the 2 so far, and I think, you know, I'm excited for that. It's definitely a new thing for me, playing with guys with more skill and we have more freedom. So I think it's going to be exciting to watch.
When game day rolls around, do you have any weird habits or superstitions or things you have to do on a game day that might be different from a regular day for you?
Not really. I mean, try to mix it up once in a while just so I kind of stay, I guess, on the ball and don't get bored with anything. But I think, like, it's the basics. I think just, I guess, getting a good meal, and there's no specific time. I know some guys are pretty crazy with that, like have to have it at a certain time and stuff like that. But no, nothing crazy. I'm not too superstitious, but I would say I'm a little stitious with like taping my stick at a certain time. I mean, yeah, it's really not. I'm not too superstitious. I used to be, not anymore.
Not dipping your stick in the toilet or anything before the game for luck. No, okay. Well, Caden, it's great to meet you and learn more about you. I know Attack fans are excited to see you when you suit up on Friday night in London. We've been hearing your name pop around OHL circles for a couple of years now as an exciting player, so can't wait to see you on the ice, and best of luck to you and your teammates this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Well, congratulations to Max Delisle. He won himself a gold medal at the U17 World Hockey Challenge. Won that on Saturday night, got on a plane, and then played with the Owen Sound Attack in Oshawa the following day on Sunday evening. Max was a little bit tired, but as you're going to hear from him, it was well worth it. Here's my conversation with Max Delisle after Attack practice on Wednesday. All right, Max, gold medal champion. Congratulations. What was that final game like to participate in?
It was great, obviously, playing against the other Canadian team. Obviously, just the best players in Canada going up against each other. Obviously, it was a big game for us. We really wanted to win, put our bodies on the line. And, thankfully, we got the win. So it was just a surreal feeling, obviously, to throw my gloves in the air and win for my country.
Did you find that was, compete-wise, like the toughest individual game you've ever played in your career to this point?
Yeah, well, there was obviously, some inner competition, because you obviously want to not only show that you're the best in the world, but you also want to prove that you're better than those other Canadian players. So it's a battle within a battle. So obviously there was a little chip to the game, and there was obviously some extra compete that you wanted to show that you're better than everyone on the other team.
What was that first game like when you look down at your chest, you see that Canada logo on your chest, and you're about to step on the ice? What was going through your mind before the first game of that tournament?
Yeah, I just kind of took it all in. It was obviously a great moment in my hockey career, in my life. So just taking it in, just realizing all the work I've put into this point, and just kind of enjoying it. I always put a lot of pressure on myself. A lot of pressure was in me at that time. So just obviously calming down and just realizing what an accomplishment it actually is to be able to have this jersey in my hands.
I'm sure you probably, because you got to play with some guys you might have seen in the OHL here, but then you got to see some other guys from across the country that you've never seen before. Have you made any friendships as a result of this tournament? Any guys you exchange numbers and you're going to be buddies and maybe see each other in Memorial Cup someday?
Yeah, well, we were a tight group, obviously. Everyone's such great people, from different places as well. So just obviously we all connected really well. I thought our team was really close, and that's what led to a lot of our success, because we were able to come together as a team and not as individuals. So it led to a lot of our success being close, and then we all ultimately just wanted to win. So just coming together in the game and just doing what we knew we had to do to win.
I think you mentioned this was your first time in Nova Scotia. Did you guys get time to be tourists, or was it kind of straight to business the entire time you're there, no time for any fun outside of hockey?
Well, it's not like it wasn't much fun outside of hockey. It's just we were kind of all working really hard at the rink. So when we came back to the hotel, it was mostly just rest time, because we all needed to rest to perform at our best. But we took we took one team trip down to the ocean, and it was this scenic view was really nice. Obviously new place, so it was just obviously cool to see, but just being with the team was just probably the best part.
Did you get a lobster dinner, or are you a seafood guy at all? Did you get to sample any of the East Coast sea or kind of food that they serve over there?
Unfortunately, no. I'm not a big seafood guy, but we didn't really get to go to other restaurants. The food was at the rink, but the food was obviously great, and it was really healthy. So that obviously helped a lot, to eat a lot, because they fed us really well. So just the quality of food was good. So just everything was just very professional for us.
I'm sure the trophy case now is probably getting a little full, because you've got trophies and ribbons and medals you've won all through your hockey career to this point. I'm sure the gold medal is probably near the top of the list, but what are some favorites in that case, some tournaments or medals you've won before that still hold a big place in your heart?
Yeah, so when I was younger, we won a tournament in Montreal, and we actually got a belt, and it's still in my room to this day. So obviously that one's a big one, but of course, my gold medal is probably my favorite one. My dad was already talking after the gold medal game that he already has ordered a box with my jersey and the medal in. So that's already going to be framed. So I already know that. But that one sits the most high on our radar.
It was pretty amazing because you had to play 3 games in 3 days. The quarters, the semis, the final were boom, boom, boom. And then you get on a plane, you get back to Ontario, and you are driven to Oshawa to play with the team that night. How exhausted were you on that game Sunday night against the Generals?
Yeah, I was really exhausted. Obviously, I was running on 3 hours of sleep, but I was the one who wanted to play. So when I texted Dale, I was I want to play. So obviously I wanted to help the team as much as I can, and obviously coming into Oshawa, like I'm not one to miss games, especially if I'm able to play. So I just wanted to get out there and do as much as I can to help the team.
Help the team because, of course, while you were gone, they had 2 long-term injuries to both Jake Crawford and it's escaping my mind right now. Mason Ray, thank you. What's the mood been like in the team when you rejoined them on Sunday? Was everybody kind of like, I know the next man up mentality is big in the dressing room right now, but everybody seem okay when you got back? Had anything changed with the team mentally?
Well, like mostly when I got back, everyone was kind of happy for me, like congratulating me. But obviously, like they were just focused on the game ahead. Like it obviously was really like terrible for us to lose those guys. You know, they were big pieces in our team, and we would really have loved to have them. But you know, there's obviously some opportunity for new guys to step up and to show that they can take the role, and for us to, you know, grit out wins even if we don't have our top lineup every night.
A couple of former Oshawa Generals who are now your teammates, your big brother Tristan and David Bedkowski, both had quite the game on Sunday night. The clip of David and the jersey to the Oshawa fans has been shared all over the place. What was that like to get back in the wing column after that game, and what were those guys feeling after that game?
Yeah, well, like obviously, like the one thing I knew is that our team was very frustrated coming off 2-game losing streak, and you know the coach made it clear that before the game that we needed a win and we wanted to win. So obviously everyone came out with intensity, and Tristan and David, obviously they're former teams. They came out with a chip on their shoulder and really wanted to, you know, prove to their former teams that, you know, trading them was a mistake. So they obviously played with a chip on their shoulder, some extra grit, and they kind of led us to having that hard-working mentality and just us being able to get the win.
You've got a new teammate now as you prepare to head to London on Friday night to face the Knights, and that is Caden Taylor from the just acquired from the Peterborough Petes. What's he like? You've only had a couple practices with him now, but what's your first impressions of your new teammate, and how do you think he's going to fit in the lineup?
I think he'll fit in great. He's obviously a great guy. He sits to me in the change room, so obviously being able to talk to him a little bit, he's a great guy, and he's a really, really skilled player with a great shot and great vision, so he'll fit in perfectly in our lineup. Obviously, like we have a lot of depth, so just, you know, a skill guy to add to our lineup, just being able to slot in anywhere and just, you know, helping us with all the injuries out, just helping us, you know, win more games and just being able to make our roster even better.
Yeah, it's great to add a little bit of experience now while those guys are injured. Hopefully we see them all, and Jake Tarian back soon, obviously. Max, tremendous accomplishment, a gold medal, which is incredible. Best of luck to you and your teammates on the road trip this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Attack General Manager Dale DeGray has been busy the last couple of weeks as he fills some gaps in the lineup thanks to long-term injuries. This week, it was Caden Taylor. The week before, it was Wesley Royston. We get Dale's thoughts on both of those moves, the players that he acquired. Plus, I got to ask him about the big announcement the OHL made this week, going to a live draft in Kingston. Here's Attack General Manager Dale DeGray, who I caught up with on Friday afternoon. Dale, how are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic, JC. How are you?
Very good. Thanks so much for taking the time on a Friday afternoon. We're actually going to release the podcast the same day this week, so people will get to hear from you ahead of tonight's game against the London Knights. But I guess the first question is about the acquisition this week. Caden Taylor coming over in a trade from the Peterborough Petes, 3rd-round pick and a conditional 5th-round pick going back to Peterborough in exchange for a guy that at the level just before the OHL, he put up some huge point totals in Mississauga. A lot of upside, I think, to Caden Taylor, but it sounds like he's almost a bit of a maybe I hesitate to say a reclamation project, which you seem to have a good eye for players that have had tough times and need a second chance or a change of scenery. What are your thoughts on Caden Taylor?
Yeah, I think the kind of the misnomer on Caden is that, well, this is going to be his 3rd team. But it's going to be his 3rd team only because it is. But it's not because of anything other than the fact that, you know, he was drafted by Sudbury. He was their first pick. after having, like you mentioned, a phenomenal minor midget season. And but Sudbury wanted to get older. They wanted to get a little bit more mature, and to bring in Donovan McCoy. The reason, the cost to bring Donovan McCoy in was a first round pick. I would have to believe that if Sudbury could do it, I don't want to say do it over, but could move somebody else other than Caden, I think that would have probably happened. So for me, that's one of those things where that's the cost of doing business. Your first round pick, they were okay with doing it at the time. And then with Peterborough, I think it was just maybe not a fit for Caden there in Peterborough, where I think coming to Owen Sound, I think he's going to be excited about the style of play that we play. And I think that's the only reason he was unhappy in Peterborough, was that he's more of an offensive type player. And I think, if I was to sum up how Peterborough would play, I think they're probably a defense first responsible sort of a group, and maybe he didn't quite fit in. That would be my take. But having the ability, JC, to bring him in, when we thought about his name and had, maybe positive thoughts on, from Peterborough that we could maybe make it happen, I think we got really excited about the chance to maybe bring him in. He's a big body with high end skill. It's tough to draft that sometimes, let alone be able to make a trade for it. And what I think is a nominal fee and a third and a fifth, conditional, but it's a third and a fifth.
Yeah, it's a much smaller fee than what we saw just the week before, or a couple weeks before, with the Wesley Royston and Michael Deck trade, which we'll talk about in a second. But I guess with Caden Taylor, I mean, you probably aren't overly concerned about the fact that he was kind of sitting on the sidelines. I mean, you've been on both sides of the coin as a general manager. You've had guys that have made requests to be moved, and you've done your best to accommodate and make sure that they get into a situation that works for them, and you get a return that works for you. So obviously, based on the upside there, you weren't hesitating to make this move, I'm guessing.
JC, this is exactly what I tell guys that whenever I trade for them, I played 17 years professionally. I was lucky enough to wear 18 different jerseys. So in my 17-year career, I've got to believe, I know for a fact that I have asked for a trade before. And it wasn't because I'm a bad guy or I didn't like my teammates. It was just one of those things where I didn't feel it was a fit. So I've lived that life. I've gone through it all. I'm still here to tell you about it, and I'm sure Caden will be at the end of it all as well. For me, it's the ability to bring in a high-skilled player, and you know what? Let's really look at this. If maybe he has a fault, it might be his defensive side of the game, And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, we traded away Michael Deck, who was at the time and I'll just say this, our worst plus-minus player at the time, and smaller, but incredibly gifted and incredibly skilled and incredible vision and a lot of good things, where maybe we just replaced Michael Deck with Caden Taylor, who is 6'4", 205 pounds. And if that's the case, then, maybe we have a more ready playoff type player. And we'll continue to work with him on the defensive side of the puck, which we do with all the kids anyways. And then when you bring in Wesley Royston, another 6'3", 200-pound forward who's got a little bit more on the sandpaper side, the two acquisitions, I think they make a ton of sense.
Yeah, obviously the price was a little bit higher when you went to acquire Wesley, but at that point, of course, the team was kind of in some big need, and still are in some big need of some help, just based on the fact that there's been some long-term injuries that have occurred, and we obviously don't know the status of Jacob Therrien at this point. Ray and Crawford are probably looking at 6 to 8 weeks, which it's a long time if you're going to try to just get there with the pieces that you have, because if another injury happens or somebody goes down, it's total disaster. So obviously your hand was a little bit tied in making the move. But what have you thought of Wesley Royston thus far? He's obviously, it takes some time to acclimatize yourself with the new team and new surroundings, new coaching staff and systems. But it didn't take him long to start finding the back of the net, and he's looked pretty like he belongs here and has been here for a while now, just based on a short window of time.
Yeah, I think with Wes, it's just he's gonna have to find his way only around the line for officiating. He's an aggressive young man. The one thing I noticed with him right away is that, with his size, his ability to skate for that size, I thought was remarkable. He can easily get in, be first in on pucks, and make contact. So that's a given now. I think the coaches realize that now that'll be no problem whatsoever. And then it's going to be just a matter of him just learning, am I a straight line sort of a guy? Gain the blue line, drive the net, be a menace in front of the net, win my puck battles in the corner. I think if he does that, I think he's an NHL draft pick all day long. And I think he understands what he is. I think he knows what it's going to take, and I'm pretty convinced he's going to do what's needed.
Do you think that I remember your quote to Greg Cowan about acquiring Royston, and part of it was getting a little bit bigger physically because you were tired of seeing the team get pushed around on the ice. Do you feel like between Wesley's acquisition and now adding a big body in Caden Taylor, do you think that has been addressed now that you've got enough size up front with the forward group that you have?
Well, I definitely think the size factor was addressed for sure, right? But still, the proof's in the pudding. All the kids still have to go out and play, play tenacious, play fast, play hard, play heavy. And if they do that, then we're a way better team for it. Strength in numbers sort of a deal is what I believe in. And I think these two will certainly add to that sort of, an idea as far as how we want to play, for sure.
A lot of people that watch the Owen Sound Attack from the outside and from afar, other media in the league and other fans, the biggest thing that they have said about the team is, I can't believe the start that they've gotten off to. And even us in the local media here have been a little bit surprised at the start that they've gotten off to. Now, they've been a little bit streaky as of late in both directions, some winning streaks, some losing streaks, but all in all, still off to a very good start for the season. And now we're at about the quarter mark of the season. What's your assessment on where the team's at? Were you surprised by the start? And are they right where you think they should be in terms of expectations at this point?
Well, I think we are at this point, right where I thought we would be. And, it's hard. Like, I don't think, JC, when I saw the rankings at the very start of the season, I believe they had us, I think we were 16th in what, I don't know who does the power rankings. I don't know that person. So I don't know what sort of faith you put in it, but they had a 16th on that list, which might sound good, but there was 9 teams in front of us on the West, which made us 10th, which made us out of the playoffs. And I kind of thought that was a little bit of a slight from us. They talked about a certain goalie in the league, a different goalie in the league, and that was what was going to put them in the playoffs. But yet, last time I looked, I thought Carter George was the world junior goalie and probably the world junior goalie again. And he and we were slighted with that. So I was a little bit ticked off, I'll be honest with you. And I'm not a social media person, and I generally don't see or read or put much weight on it, but I was a little bit ticked when I did see that. So I think we're where we should be right now. Who knows when you start? Like when we go through training camp, I think we try to go through training camp with an emphasis on being ready from the drop of the puck for game one. I think we've always done that. Doesn't always, play out that way. But honestly, when we start training camp, our coaches are on the ice with all the players, running through practices and touching base on whether it's just verbiage or actual how-tos, the way that we want to play. And I think that gives us an advantage most years when you go to drop the puck at the start of the season, and this year was no different. I think with the changes we made over the summer coming into this year, I think were evident when everybody showed up to camp and saw what we were starting the season with. And I think they were, pretty much all positive changes for us moving forward, and most likely to have that success we had.
Has any individual player kind of surprised you a little bit and performed above the expectations that you might have had for them heading into the season?
Well, I think two, well, maybe three. I'm going to say Tristan DeLille. I think he's playing better than I was a big fan. I obviously traded for him, and I was a big fan, but I think he's even taken his game to another level. And you know what? All three guys that I'm going to bring up, Jake Crawford and Harry Nancy, are all guys that I think, we were hoping, when is that step going to come in for these guys? And, we're benefiting from it, that they're all doing it at the same time, which is phenomenal. And I think our fans would even agree with me on that.
There was a big announcement yesterday in the Ontario Hockey League that the OHL is now shifting back to the live draft format. For quite some time now, for quite a few years, they've been doing almost the virtual draft where all teams are in their home bases, and normally the Owen Sound Attack would have a big draft party at the Bay Shore the first night of the draft, and in a lot of cases, fans were able to meet some of the new players who were drafted. Now things will happen in one place. Fans and media will be invited to it. It's going to be June 12th and 13th at Slush Puppy Place in Kingston. As a general manager, are you welcoming that change to have everybody in one place as opposed to everybody in their own home bases? Will it be positive, do you think? And what does it mean for players that are involved in this too? Because it's obviously going to be a different process for them as well.
Yeah, so this is my 19th year, JC, and I've never been a part of an in-person draft. Other than 1979 when I got drafted, it was at the Herb Carnegie Arena in North York, and I was a part of it then. Change is always different. And sometimes difficult, right? So I mean, I think it's going to be a really, really good experience. I've been a part of it in the National Hockey League with the Florida Panthers, and I hope we can pull it off the way the NHL has. Do you know what I mean? I've liked the way we've done it, where we're all in our own centers, and I hope the kids show up. There might be kids that are a little bit leery because of the disappointment of being there and not getting drafted. That's always a fear. It doesn't matter whether it would be our league, the Quebec League, who does this type of a draft, or the NHL. You always look, and I've been on the floor where I look at kids on day two and they haven't been drafted, and everybody's wondering, how are kids feeling, right? So, I'm optimistic that it's going to go well. I really do hope it does go well, because I know we're trying to put our best foot forward and open things up to different experiences. This is one of them, and I hope it goes well.
I guess on a plus side, you've got a place in Kingston, so you can probably have all the new kids over for a barbecue after.
Well, it's not right in Kingston, just outside, but yeah, if that's the case, then maybe that is what we do. But I'm not even sure if it's going to be both days that we're doing it from on the floor. Mm-hmm. There's some parameters that I know are going to have to be looked after and hammered out, but I know we've got some time to do it, and I know Kingston's excited about this for sure, and I think they'll put their best foot forward to make sure that this all comes off in a positive note.
It'll be interesting to see where this goes for other teams as well that might have the opportunity to host one of these events, assuming that it's all successful. But would that be something that Owen Sound puts their name in the hat for, possibly in the future?
Well, why wouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? And under the circumstances, we could probably accommodate it. I mean, there's certainly some things that the CHL and the OHL do that we cannot accommodate. But this should probably be one that we might be able to do. And, who knows? We'll have to see. I'm sure there'll be a number of teams that'll be applying for it if it goes off without a hitch and things go smoothly. Why wouldn't we?
All right. Well, obviously, Dale, we appreciate your time here on this Friday afternoon. I know it's been a busy couple of weeks thanks to the injuries that have added up, and you've had to be working the phones, and obviously it's not going to get any quieter as we get closer and closer to the end of the calendar year. But thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a little bit of insight on the recent attack moves.
Absolutely, JC. Thanks for having me.
Well, Landen Hookey was a fan favorite last season with the Owen Sound Attack. In fact, he elevated his game to find personal bests in points, goals. He wore the captaincy last year. He mentored players like Pierce Bowie. He even set himself a franchise record for fastest hat trick in team history. Landen wasn't sure where he was headed at the end of last season, but his hard work got him a 2-year contract with the American Hockey League's Belleville Senators. I had a chance to talk to Landen on Wednesday from Belleville. Here's our conversation. How are you doing today, sir? It's great to see you again.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's good. I had a game last night, so got in late, but rested up, so it's good.
Yeah, we're obviously we're going to talk a lot about what life is like in the AHL now compared to the OHL. But let's go back to last year. I remember having a conversation with you because we knew that the other two overagers were moving on to NCAA, Bruce McDonald and Alec Leonard. And I asked you at the time, I said, where are you going? You got to be going somewhere because you're too good not to be going somewhere next season. And you kind of gave me a wink and said there's something in the works. Now, I don't know at that moment if you were referring to Belleville, but when did it all come together for Belleville? How did they reach out to you? When did the contract come up? And what was the signing like for you? Like, how did that part of the next step in your career get started?
Yeah, I think after the season, kind of patiently waiting and stuff, and then can't remember what month it was, but it was later. It was kind of middle of the summer. I started getting phone calls after free agency and stuff was open, and I talked to some teams and then Belleville reached out and I talked to Matt Turek, and we kind of had conversations and kept in touch, kind of thing, and then they had they wanted me there. They said good things about me. So, we kind of kept in touch for a little bit. And then, as time went on, things kind of started working themselves out. And, they offered me a contract. And, I think that was the best thing for me because, Belleville's an unbelievable place. The opportunity is great. And obviously being here, all the guys are unbelievable too. So it was a pretty cool moment in the summer. Obviously, having to wait that long, which, I'll wait that every time of the week now after what I got. But, it's I'm really grateful and happy to be here, so it's great.
And it must have been a pretty quick process that if it was late in the summer, because then right away you sign the deal, you got to go to Ottawa Senators rookie camp, and then on September 13th, I remember trying to finagle my laptop to run through my TV so that I could watch you play as a member of the Ottawa Senators rookie team against the Toronto Maple Leafs rookie team in Montreal. How was that experience? That must have been huge playing with a couple of NHL teams in an NHL arena. I know your family was there too.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. Obviously the experience was great, and it was pretty cool that I was in Montreal there. I mean, the atmosphere was unbelievable. That's such a cool hockey city. Obviously one of the best crowds I played in front of in my career. So it was pretty cool. Even watching, the other games in Montreal play, it was like the arena was packed and it was the loudest thing ever. So it was a super cool experience, and obviously grateful that my family could be there. And I learned a lot, and we just kept building from there. So
you had one of your first big moments in the AHL back on October 19th. You picked up your first AHL point and assist against Syracuse. Did you keep the puck? Do you have that in the collection?
No, I don't have it yet. No, I don't. I'm just waiting for the first. So
Okay, waiting for the first
Yeah,
big goal, which I mean
yeah,
could be coming at any time. I keep looking every
yeah,
time Belleville scores to see if you're on the score sheet as a
yeah.
goal scorer because
Coming.
I know it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, we'll get there.
What's the? I mean, obviously there's probably a world of difference between playing hockey in the Ontario Hockey League and now playing hockey professionally in the American Hockey League. What
Yeah.
have you noticed in the transition to the game, and what have you found that's I don't how do I say this? That's kind of easy as a transition, and what have you found that's kind of challenging to step into a new professional league?
Yeah, like you said, like the hockey's a lot different. Like it's, you're playing against men, not boys. It's quicker, faster, and everyone's kind of got a chip on their shoulder because, everyone's want to go to the next level, right? Including myself. So I think in that aspect, the hockey's, a lot different, a lot more physical and everything. So it's every night's like the biggest game. So I think in the OHL, it's kind of, guys don't take one game at a time. And I think, in pro, like guys are taking one game at a time and it's every game's the biggest game. So I think that's a big change. And I honestly really like it. I think it's awesome. I don't know. I think, coming into a team atmosphere is easy because, when you're I feel like, being around the guys is awesome and, meeting these guys. So I think that part was really easy, really welcoming and stuff. So, but, other than that, it's been great. And I think the transition's been really good. And I think I just have so much more to learn. And I think I've learned so much since I've been here. So it's gonna be cool to see, the next couple of years where I'm at.
Obviously, I think that there are. I was looking up and down the roster, and I think there's some familiar faces on that roster from guys that you might have played against in the OHL. Jorian Donovan, I think his time and your time crossed over. Are there any more guys on the team that you were already kind of familiar with? So it wasn't total culture shock coming to play in the American Hockey League, because at least you knew a few guys on the team.
I wasn't too familiar with many. I know Andonovski, obviously he played for Kitchener.
Hmm.
So me and him are really good buddies. Now obviously we kind of went at each other when we played each other in the OHL, but it was pretty new I was pretty new, with everyone. Jameson Reese, I kind of knew him from Sarnia. He played for the Sting. I billeted, so he was at my house a lot when I was 14, 15 years old. So, which is weird, playing on a line with him now. It's like, well, yeah, I was 14 when you're, putting up 100 points in the OHL. So it's pretty cool. And I think coming in, every guy's been great. Every guy's been, professional about everything. And there's been guys that have taught me a lot so far. So I'm really grateful for it.
Is there? I think the AHL game has kind of changed over the years, but is there a massive age gap for you as a young guy? Like, I don't know if you have many grizzled 40-year-old guys that are still playing in the AHL or not, but have you found that there's a big age gap between yourself and some of your teammates, or is it pretty close?
I think our team's pretty close. I mean, yeah, there's a couple, veteran guys on our team that are a little older, but I think our team's pretty, a younger group, a lot of like 25, 23-year-olds. There's a couple, I think there's two 30-year-olds maybe. But no, it's good because I think everyone's got a lot in common. Everyone's still kind of, in that time of their career where they can still, make it to the NHL and try and get a role there, obviously. And it happens all the time. You see guys go up and down. So I think it's pretty cool to see um, the guys get this opportunity to go up and play for Ottawa, obviously. So obviously, I want that to be me one day. So I'm working towards that, and learning lots from these veteran guys that have played so and so NHL games. So it's pretty cool to see, and it's exciting as well for me.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a diehard Ottawa Senators fan. I actually
Yeah.
grew up 45 minutes away from the arena in Ottawa. So
Yeah.
when they came to town in '92, I would have been 9 years old at that point. So I have
Okay.
been following the team my entire life. So as soon as I saw you signed, I was like, okay, that's a good excuse to A, go to another Senators game, and B, go to
Right.
Belleville and see a game
Right.
there, because I've never been to Belleville, but I know it's a great junior hockey city, being formerly of the Belleville Bulls fame,
Yeah.
and now it's a professional hockey city. What's your opinion of Belleville? I mean, you've had some time now to kind of get to know the city a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you finding some favorite places in the city to hang out? Is it a great place to be? I'm sure it's probably a bigger version of Owen Sound, where it's still kind of close, but it's got everything you need, I imagine.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Owen Sound actually, just with the water and kind of the layout of the city. And yeah, there's nothing crazy that you can do there, but I think, the county's really nice. So if you drive about 35, 40 minutes just outside of the county, it's really nice. A lot of restaurants and it's nice out there. And Belleville's great. I could see in the summer it could be a really, really nice city. In the winter, obviously, the place is kind of snow, freezing, not
Mhm.
much to do. But no, I've enjoyed it. It's been nice, and I have nothing to say bad about Belleville at all.
Yeah, and it's not exactly a quick drive home to Sarnia, but it's right on the 401 at least. And then
Yeah, yeah,
obviously it's a quick drive up to Ottawa when and the call finally does come. You'll be able to get up
yeah,
there pretty quick.
absolutely.
Speaking of Owen Sound, do you keep? I'm sure you keep in touch with some of the guys back with the attack, and I'm sure you're as busy as you are. You're probably every now and then checking the standings, seeing how the team's doing.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys that you're in constant communication with back in Owen Sound?
I try and kind of keep in touch with a couple of the guys like Bowie. I'll talk to Georgie. Some of the guys will just like Razor, those guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll chat once in a while. Obviously, they're busy, I'm busy, so it's kind of you know clashing. But yeah, I try and keep in touch with them, and it's cool to see them doing so well this year. I've probably watched a good handful of games, so they're doing well, and I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the year.
Now, every now and then, it's always fun when a former player comes back to pay a visit. I know you're obviously ridiculously busy with your schedule, but do you think you'll be able to get back someday to say hi to everybody? Will you be back to a game at some point, perhaps?
Yeah, that's my plan. If timing works out, I think I'm gonna try and come to a game this year. Obviously, depending on schedule and stuff. But yeah, I would love to come back to a game this year and see the boys and come back to the barn. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
You're probably, I would say, a classic example of hard work and being a great person can really pay off and help your dreams come true. I think that based on what we saw you do last season and how you worked your way into where you are now, I think is an amazing example for a lot of young hockey players that maybe if they don't get drafted in the NHL, all of a sudden, guess what? It's not the end of the world. There is still a pathway. You might just have to work a little bit harder, and you certainly have proven that. I mean, you've got obviously a great family behind you. Your mom was on the podcast last year. Chris, your stepdad's been a big proponent of you in your career. So obviously that has helped a little bit as well. But what advice would you give to young hockey players and young guys in the OHL that are right now hoping to kind of achieve the same success that you've achieved, which is through hard work?
Yeah, I think for me personally, any advice I give, I think everyone's different. I think everyone blooms at different times. Some guys are first year unbelievable. And, like for me, obviously it took me a couple years to kind of get into it and I didn't grow into my body. I didn't, find my game right away. So I don't think it's like, many people say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So I think, everyone's going to bloom at different times. And you can see it this year in Owen Sound. Like there's guys that are doing phenomenal. And it's like the first 2 years, they did good. But so it's different for everyone. I think when you start putting stress on yourself to be doing good when you're young, it's hard to say that because you have so much more development to have in your game. And I think even kind of my last year, I think I didn't have anything to lose. I wasn't drafted. I wasn't talking to any teams the year before. I had a mediocre year. So I think I came in with a mindset like I got nothing to lose. I might as well prove some people wrong here and. That's what I did, and I think the work ethic kind of just comes with my game. That's my style game, and uh, so yeah, it was an exciting year, and I'm glad what came out of it. And yeah, I think just for young guys, just stay with your path.
What's been one of your favorite experiences so far in the AHL? Obviously, you haven't even had a full season to kind of experience everything, like all the long road trips and everything that goes into being a professional hockey player. But you've had a little bit of a taste of it now.
Mhm.
What's been one of the best things for you so far?
I think just our road trip. We went on two good road trips. We're on one right now, obviously. So I think just the road trips because that's when you kind of get to connect with the guys and you're together for 5 days on the bus in the ring. So I think it's pretty fun. Obviously, during the year it kind of gets a little tiring, but at the start of the year it's a lot of fun, and especially for us young guys, just to kind of bond with those older guys, and just get that connection for the games and stuff. And I think everyone's really inclusive here, so all the guys do everything together, and so it's been good. I think that's probably been the best part so far.
Yeah, 6-4 win last night in Rochester against the Americans. And then this podcast is, we're recording this on the Thursday. It's going to be out Friday.
Okay.
So on Friday, you guys will be headed to Utica to take on the Comets, and then Syracuse on Saturday to take on the Crunch. And I should remind Owen Sound Attack fans that are watching and listening to this, of course, that if you have subscribed to Flow Hockey, it means, yes, you can watch the Attack, but now you can also watch Landen and the Belleville Senators. So you can catch up with Landen and any of the other former players who happen to be in the American Hockey League. Speaking of that, family, have they been up to Belleville a few times? Or are they? I know they were at almost every game in Owen Sound. Have they been at almost every home game now in Belleville?
No, they haven't been at everyone. They've been a couple times, but it's a little bit more of a trek, especially, the weather's been good, but it's going to start getting bad, so it's going to be harder for them to get up. But they've been watching on Flow Hockey, so obviously they would like to get up more, but they're busy. They got stuff going on, so I just tell them, it's almost better to watch on the couch sometimes than have to drive 4.5 hours to a game, figure all that stuff out. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, Landen, it was great to be able to catch up with you a little bit, because I know a lot of fans have been asking questions like, how's he doing? Is he having fun? And are you having fun, Landen?
Yeah, of course. Always having fun.
All right. Well, it's great to see that big smile again, and see that you're doing so well. Obviously, big things are still to come for you, and we'll keep in touch for sure, and probably have you on again at some point, maybe later in the season. But and actually, I'm going to try to get to Belleville and hopefully interview you in person at some point this season.
Love it.
But Landen, we thank you so much for your time today, and wish you all the best in the future, man.
Yeah, thank you too. I appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of the year.
Well, every couple of weeks we get to hear from our good friend Adrien Mousseau for Moose on the Loose. And this week, Adrien wanted to highlight some of the players involved in the upcoming CHL versus USA Hockey Challenge. Here's Adrien Mousseau and Moose on the Loose. The Loose segment, joined by our good friend Adrien Mousseau. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing just fine on this, we're recording on a Wednesday, on this beautiful Wednesday. I got some beer league hockey to play in a couple of hours, ready to go.
Nice. And the move went okay. The last time we talked, you were about to come back and grab the last of your stuff and officially become an ex-resident of Grey County. That's all good?
Yeah, I got out just before the big snowstorm, so that was good as well. Only banged a few walls, so my wife only yelled at me a few times.
That's bringing me flashbacks to when we moved last year, because I did the same thing. She's like, careful with all that stuff. Watch the walls. I'm like, we can always repaint the walls. It'll be fine.
I was saying the same things.
Yeah. Well, this week it's we're kind of going to talk about what you got in the background there, the CHL USA Prospects Challenge. Let's start with you wanted to highlight what could be for you a starting lineup for the CHL team. What do you think that they might run with when this tournament or mini tournament takes place?
Yeah, I just got one goalie, 2D, and 3 forwards. Just kind of keep your eye out on. I left a few of the big names like Ethan Belchez and Caleb Malhotra kind of off the list, and I went for a couple other names that some guys, some fans might not know of. And I'll start in the pipes, and then I'll work my way to the defense and the forwards after that. How's that sound, Macy?
Sounds great.
All right, so we'll start in the pipes with a goaltender out of the OHL in Zachary Jovanovski. Tecumseh, Ontario, that's actually where I teach right now. He's former Sun County Panther alumni, and he's an 07 born goaltender, a late birthday, an October birthday. So he falls into this draft category, this draft NHL draft year, being that he's after September 15th. So he's had the ability to slowly progress his game from his U16 season with Sun County all the way to this season that he's having with the Guelph Storm. And he's having a pretty remarkable season at that with Guelph. Some good numbers, 8.51, 3.39 goals against average, and then an 8.94 save percentage. Guelph not being the best team, so you got to take those numbers with a grain of salt and kind of look at his overall work and just more about his consistent play as of late. But if we go back and just look at his progressive rise, a 7th round pick in the OHL doesn't always like have all the scouts running to his games. Well, he took his 16-year-old season, so his U17 season, and split it with the Windsor AAA and played 4 games with the Chatham Maroons in Junior B. Had outstanding numbers in Windsor AAA, but you kind of expect that from a drafted goalie. Nick Chenard did about the same thing in his draft season, or his draft +1 season from the OHL. So then last year, he starts this season off with the Air Centennials in Junior B, and he's a lot closer to Guelph, so he's practicing with the Guelph Storm, and then finally gets some games in, and then he really makes his mark on January 3rd against the Owen Sound Attack. A 30-save shutout for Zachary Jovanovski, and that's really when he kind of stole the show and the crease in Guelph to become their number 1 netminder. He started to get more games, started stealing the net from Colin Ellsworth, who was their 16-year-old rookie at the time. Jovanovski comes in his 2nd eligible season of junior hockey and really took the Storm net late in the season and even stole some points for the team. Not enough to make it into the playoffs, but they were on the cusp there for a while. And luckily enough for Guelph, they were able to get Jaakko Wysick out of the deal, another Sun County kid, 2nd overall. But for Jovanovski, he's going to play one of the 2 games. The other goaltender, another 07-born player in Harrison Bottinger, is from Kelowna, so he will also split the other games. We'll see how they do, but it's really Jovanovski's first time on the national stage, so I'm kind of excited to see what the 6'2" lanky goaltender is able to do in the crease there.
Yeah, you mentioned he was a 7th round pick, and goalies are funny like that. A late pick can go through a lot of things, especially at that age. They can hit a growth spurt. They can maybe start working with a different goaltending coach, and it just unlocks something. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're a starting goaltender at a higher level. Whereas we've seen it happen the other way, where goalies can be highly touted and highly ranked, and then all of a sudden something falls off and they disappear off the map. So it's interesting to see his progression, and he certainly is part of, at least in the last couple of weeks, a big turnaround in Guelph right now. Who do you like on the blue line?
On the blue line, I got 2 guys, and they're from both sides of the country. One's from the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League, and one's from the WHL. And I'll start with the Quebec-born kid, Xavier Villeneuve, playing for l'Armada de Blainville-Boisbriand. So the Armada of Blainville-Boisbriand. I had to get my French in there. And he's a very small, diminutive defenseman, 5'11", 157 pounds. Also a late 07-born player. And so he's played 2 seasons in the Q already. But he doesn't have to look far to the NHL or to anywhere really to see a small diminutive defenseman that's able to play at the next level. He's got Lane Hudson right there on his RDS every single night, showing that smaller defensemen that can move the puck and skate with pace are able to also defend in the NHL. So when it comes to Xavier, he really is a puck mover, but has elite skating abilities, which he's able to go through traffic, take on forecheckers, and get out of traffic with relative ease. And then he makes a great first pass, so he's out of the zone and onto the offense. Last year, as a 17-year-old, he was a +14 for his team. This year, already on this season, a +11. So defending is not that difficult when you're playing so much in the offensive zone. 5 goals, 19 assists for 24 points in 20 games so far this season. Last year, He won Defenseman of the Year in the Q. Only the second time that's happened for a 17-year-old born player. The last 2 times was Sam Girard, who's a defenseman currently with the Colorado Avalanche. And the other one was way back in the day, a guy by the name of J.J. Dagno, who Jean-Jacques Dagno also won a Stanley Cups with Montreal. So there's 2 Stanley Cup winners. So this just means that Xavier Villeneuve, if you draft him, you're going to win a Stanley Cup. That's what it means. I'm sorry. That's the laws. And then, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays against a bigger, more physical U.S. team. And maybe he's able to, maybe shies away, or maybe he's really the star of the show on the back end. But then that's where I go with my second defenseman, who is going to be the star of the show. His name is Ryan Lynn, a 6 foot, 175-pound right shot defenseman, and is going to be a top 5 pick in the NHL draft this season. This kid is incredible. And if Keaton Verhoff was not in the WHL last year, he would have won WHL Rookie of the Year without a doubt. Now, Keaton Verhoff is off to the NCAA, so he is not playing in this game, but Ryan Lynn is, and he's going to be the quarterback of the power play. He's going to be the one distributing the puck in all the heavy minutes. 3 goals, 19 assists for 22 points in 20 games this season. His biggest strength is his breakout pass. I've watched him at the U17s and the U18s on television. I don't know if he's missed a breakout pass in those 2 tournaments. And it's just his smooth skating, the way he's able to walk that blue line and add offense from the back end is truly remarkable. He's the second defenseman to reach 50 points in the WHL since Scott Niedermayer in 1998, 1990. So that he's in good company. It was him and Verhoff last year that both did it in the same season. But Verhoff is more than likely going to go second overall. If he's even pushing right now to potentially go first overall. But we're here to talk about the CHL kids, not the old CHL kids. Ryan Lynn, also just a winner. Won gold at the U17s last season with Canada White. And then at the U18s, he played what they would call a year up because his U18 season is this year. He won gold as well. So those are the 2 defensemen for me that people should watch out for: Xavier Villeneuve and Ryan Lynn.
You mentioned Verhoff has gone over to NCAA, which I think a lot of people, when they think of this tournament, oh man, how sweet would it be to have Gavin McKenna playing for the CHL in this tournament. Fortunately, he decided to go to Penn State, so that's another name we won't get to see here. But who do you like up front then with this tournament?
Yeah, Gavin McKenna's not here, but the lack of talent is not gone as well. So I'm going to start. I picked one from each league, and I'll start from the East, and I'll go all the way to the West, and with the West being what I think is the most dynamic player in this game. So we'll start with a former NHLer's son in Pierre Dagenet. His son, Maddox Dagenet, is a 6'3", 195-pound centerman for the Quebec Ramparts. He was drafted number 1 overall in the Q draft in 2024. What's kind of cool about that is he came down to Ontario to play his U16 season with the Quinte Red Devils. So he was playing in Quinte, and then obviously Quebec scouts saw the talent that was on that team in Quinte and how good of a player Dagenet is, and with the pedigree of his father, they had no problems at all going to him for the first overall pick. An elite skater, a big body, and his vision offensively. He's more of a playmaker than he is a goal scorer. But what sets him apart from the rest is that he's already got that NHL frame at 6'3", 195. In his first 7 games last season, he was able to score 6 goals and 5 assists for 11 points. Only 3 other players in Q history have been able to do that. Angelo Esposito, he was a first round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Zachary Lheureux, he was a first round pick to the Nashville Predators. and then somebody by the name of Nathan McKinnon, who went first overall to Colorado Avalanche. So needless to say, Max Delisle is on a good trajectory there to be a first-round talent. Now, he has slipped as of late, only 6 goals and 8 assists in his season this season, and Quebec was supposed to take a jump this year. So it's kind of a little surprising when your main man isn't the one driving the boat there. I expect Alex Tanguay, who's now his head coach, to get him going offensively for the rest of the season. And maybe, who knows, but the games in Calgary and the games in Lethbridge, Max Delisle finds his offensive touch playing against his peers. The guy from the Ontario League, I'm going down to Niagara, and Ryan Rubrick. He's an 07 born player who hasn't really got a lot of love in this draft class. At one point in time, he was said to go potentially in the top 5 with his size at 6'4" and 215 pounds, the way that he plays physically, the way that he can score goals. He is an impressive talent. His brother, Dylan Rubrick, is playing for the Hartford Wolfpack, so he's able to train with a guy that is already at NHL camps, an NHL drafted player. 10 goals, 9 assists, 19 points, averaging about a point per game this year. But it's more of his physicality and what he brings, kind of that Ethan Belchez type of player where hard to get off pucks, hard along the walls. And those are just the little things that scouts are looking for. The points are always nice, but the points won't always come in the NHL. What else can you do? So if he's hard on the forecheck, wins his puck battles as a winger or a centerman along the walls, and is able to support defensively and be a big defensive, reliable player with a good active stick, that's what's going to keep him to being a high drafted player. I would expect him to go anywhere from 7 to 15 in this draft. Can't teach size, JC, and he's got all of it at 6'4", 215. And then the last player that I have on my list is my number 1 player to watch in this game, and these 2 games. And his name is Mathis Preston of the Spokane Chiefs. Now, he made his WHL debut at 15 years old. And in the WHL, you're able to play upwards of 7 games in your U16 season. He played 5 games, 4 goals in those 5 games. That's very impressive as a 15-year-old. This season, he's played 17 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, but Spokane's in a little bit of a rebuilding mode. So I might actually expect him to get traded potentially this year, if not next year, going on a run to Memorial Cup or a WHL title for one team or another. So what his best attribute is his zone entries. He loves to lug the puck through the middle of the ice. Oftentimes you see that slingshot on the power play. He'll be the one picking up the puck and dicing through the defenseman and able to find seams and passing lanes. Skates very well on his edges, is a playmaker, but can also score off the rush, which is a very it's a talent that not many people have, to have that shot and that deceptionness, to be able to skate down the wing, fire while skating, and it always gets that goalie moving a little bit. It doesn't always have to be the hardest shot, but it has to be well placed, and Mathis Preston does that on the regular. Last year at the Holinka Gretzky Cup, 4 goals, 3 assists in 5 games played, won a bronze medal. And then at the U17s the year prior, in 5 games, he had 7 goals and 1 gold alongside Ryan Lynn in that stacked team. But the one thing, when I was watching the Holinka Gretzky Cup this summer, Mathis Preston was used on relatively every single power play, every single situation that Canada needed a goal. It was him and Ty Lawrence that were the 2 main men out there alongside with Verhoff and Lynn on the points, and then they kind of rotate whoever that 5th guy was to try and get a goal for Canada. But Preston was always the one with the puck. So I heard a stat just the other day that Connor McDavid leads the NHL with time with the puck time on the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. Pardon me, and it's at 1 minute and 31 seconds per game. He has the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. I will be looking at how much time Mathis Preston has the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, because that's just the type of player he is. He's like, give me the puck, I want the puck. And that's the type of players that NHL teams are seeking as well. They want the guy that wants the puck, not the guy that wants to give away the puck.
It sounds like we got some pretty incredible talent to watch for the CHL prospects team at these two games, which are coming up at the end of the month in Alberta. What about the U.S. side of things? So the national development team, was there anybody on that team that caught your eye?
There's one player in particular. His name's Victor Plante. He's the brother of Max Plante, and his dad was Derek Plante, who played for the Buffalo Sabres back in the day. So he's the one leading the NDTP team right now with 8 goals and 8 assists for 16 points in 18 games. Also, what scouts might like about this guy is he plays with an edge. 29 penalty minutes already this season. Leads the team in goals, assists, or not, pardon me, not assists, goals, points, and penalty minutes. So he likes to get rough and tumble, just like his dad did in his days with the Sabres. And then another guy that I'm just looking at, and it's not because he's going to be one of the flashier players, but it's just, am I getting old? One of the guys that I watched growing up, and Travis Zajak's son is playing for the U.S. team. I feel like Travis Zajac just retired 3 years ago, and now his son's getting drafted to the NHL. I couldn't believe it when I saw that Lucas Zajac will be on the team as well. So that is going to be a thing to watch for a lot of people. And then the other one would be the defenseman in AJ Francisco. He's a puck-moving, smooth-skating defenseman. Has 12 assists this year. That leads the team in assist and assist by defenseman and assist for the entire team. So AJ Francisco could be a first-round talent alongside Victor Plante. But now with all the kids going to the CHL, we talked about this on the last episode of Moose on Loose. There's 5 U.S.-born players that are playing for the CHL team. So that diminishes the NDTP team quite significantly. So they could have guys like Brooks Rogowski or Nikita Klepov on their team, but they're just not there. And both those guys played for them, like we noted, at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup.
Mm-hmm. I just want to let you know that the thing about the sons of players and the feeling older, that's only going to get worse. I chatted with Caden Taylor, who we'll talk about in a second here. He's going to be on the podcast this week as well, the newest member of the Owen Sound Attack, and I asked him if he had any favorite players growing up, and he said, well, he wore the number 88 because he was a big fan of the player that wore that, and I'm in my head, the first name that popped in was Eric Lindros, and then he said Patrick Kane, and I went, oh yeah, you're a little bit younger. I also almost told him about the fact that I used to do color for the Peterborough Petes when I lived in Peterborough, and then I realized that the year he was born was the year that I did that. So it's like, yeah, he won't remember. So it gets worse. Just wait.
Oh, I felt like I was still young, and then I saw that, and I'm like, man, I'm getting to Jason.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Caden Taylor. Just acquired this week by Dale DeGray from the Peterborough Petes. A little bit of the background about him. He played in Mississauga in U16 and had a huge year before he was drafted to 9th overall by the Sudbury Wolves in the OHL. He scored 58 goals in 60 games, had 121 points, just looked to be like a crazy lights-out offensive performer. I remember last year on the podcast talking to Peterborough's play-by-play guy, and we talked about Caden Taylor. Was still pretty new in the season, and he said that he was one of the guys that was going to be huge for the team. And at some point, there must have been some sort of a falling out. Caden ended up sitting at home to start the season, asked for a trade, and here he arrives in Owen Sound at a price that is not too bad, a 3rd-round pick and a conditional 5th-round pick. So Dale able to add without subtracting any current bodies. What was your thoughts on the trade when you heard about it, and what do you think could be the outcome?
Well, I think the trade kind of says it all. There's no harm, no foul by Dale DeGray. Like, only giving up a 3rd-round pick. There's not multiple, and a conditional 5th, I guess. But It's not like it's 3, 4, 5 picks there for former first round OHL talent. A guy that's 6'3", has a heavy shot, scored at minor in the U16 season. Well, maybe he produces that, maybe not. If not, he just brings experience to the lineup for the Owen Sound Attack. You kind of see that sometimes, and I feel like it's maybe one player per trade deadline, maybe two, that they get traded their U16 season like he did from Sudbury to Peterborough, and then they kind of like fall off the map a little bit, right? So it's nice to see that he's already at the base shore. He's already practicing with the team. But the one thing that I just wish for is that he's in good space, right? You noted that he was at home, and maybe that's because the situation wasn't right. And you're going to hear his perspective on it all in an interview that you did with him on this podcast. But sometimes there's also hidden messages or hidden stuff going behind the scenes and that he's not willing to talk about. And I just hope he's in the right headspace. And I hope the guys, and I know the guys in Owen Sound actually will welcome him to the dressing room, open arms, whatever they need. The whole staff will be supportive because that's just the Owen Sound community as a whole when it comes to hockey. Everybody's so receptive and accepting of players, and he's going to be treated like one of the boys, and that's going to be a good thing for him. If he doesn't produce offensively, I actually don't think it's going to be that terrible. I think he just adds a little bit of veteran presence, a lay of the land in the OHL, and now he'll have a smile on his face coming to the rink, and can't say anything bad about that.
Yeah, I think there was a stat that Greg Cowan threw out today that said something like Owen Sound now has the most games played of experience, but they're like middle of the pack when it comes to average age on the team. So they got a lot of experience.
Did you see the stat that goes with that?
The championship stat.
In the past 10 years, all but two of the oldest teams, or the most games played, have won OHL championships. The two other teams, the 2016-2017 Windsor Spitfires and the 2024 Saginaw Spirit, both won the Memorial Cup.
Mm-hmm. Just another reason to get a little bit excited, maybe, if you're an Attack fan.
Crazy statistics. That was a good one by Greg Cowan. Don't tell him I said that either, though.
That wasn't even my favorite part of his article today. It was the Taco Bell reference. That was the best thing that he had going for him, I thought, in that article.
He's the best. Follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, at Greg Cowan. I think it's Greg Cowan Sun Times or ST or something. Not STD, though, but yeah, you'll find Greg on Twitter. There's no media room roundtable, unfortunately, this weekend. He sent his regrets when I talked to him at practice today that he wasn't going to be on this week because they love that segment. And we all miss you on that segment, by the way, Adrien.
I'm going to have to find my way up there this winter. I will find my way up there, and I'll join the roundtable.
Just find your way up when there's no snow squalls, or you might not be able to find your way back.
Yeah, I never leave. That's what Mother Nature would say.
All right. Well, Adrien, appreciate chatting with you as always. Unfortunately, because I don't pay for the full version of Zoom, our recording time is going to run up very shortly, so we might as well end it on this note. Adrien Mousseau, thanks so much for being here again.
Have a good one and enjoy the top prospects in 2 weeks.
Well, there you have it, a jam-packed episode delivered a little early this week for episode 9 of the Bear Tracker Weekly Podcast. A big thank you to all my guests this week who made time. Caden Taylor, Max Delisle, Dale DeGray, Landen Hookey, and also thanks to Adrien Mousseau for taking some time for Moose on the Loose. I'd also like to thank as well David from the Belleville Senators for setting up the interview with Landen Hookey. Really appreciate everybody's help in getting a jam-packed episode together for this week. Make sure you like and subscribe this podcast wherever you listen to it. There's also a YouTube version as well. Make sure you like and subscribe there. And of course, this show runs on Rogers TV Grey County as well. So big thank you to them. We, of course, have the Attack on the road this weekend in London and Flint. They will be back home coming up on Saturday, November 22nd, to take on the Ottawa 67s. That's a 7 o'clock game Saturday night at the Bay Shore. And then the following day, another back-to-back at home for the Attack. The Flint Firebirds will be coming to town again. They've seen a lot of Flint early in the season. Well, that's a 2 o'clock game, which means the kids get to skate with the players afterwards. So make sure you bring the skates and helmets to the game, and make sure you get your tickets to both those upcoming home games at attackhockey.com. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy next week, and we will see you next Saturday night at the Bay Shore for the next Attack home game. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. Cheers.
The Bear Tracker podcast is produced in association with Blackburn Media from the CKNX studios in Wingham, Ontario. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe at Bear Tracker Pod on social media and wherever you get your podcasts.